about coming on this evening, someone who would be new to Encinitas Mindfulness Community. That's always super exciting. And it's also super courageous, by the way. And she said, oh, I love sound baths and sound healing. And I thought, well, it is true. It will be a sound bath and a sound healing, but it won't necessarily be with gongs or with extra sound. And in fact, I have to say, I personally think the most amazing sound meditations that I have ever done have been when the first sound that I was able to connect with was the sound of silence, which made every other sound, be it a clock, tick, the sound of someone's voice, the sound of my own beating heart, the sound of movements or conversation or footsteps or wind, or the whisper in trees of the wind, or even, and this is what I think is amazing about sound practice, the sound of my own thoughts. That I could cultivate so much stable, calm, and unwavering mind that even the sound of my own thoughts was not disruptive. Now, this is a sound meditation, I think, like no other, except what I also know is true is that it takes practice, right? And so I think often we like to begin with big sound, right? Sounds we can like, that carry us away, sounds that occupy our chatting mind, sounds that are so vibrant that they're louder than the sound of our own thoughts. But I think there's a whole other way to form wise, loving, skillful relationship to thoughts. And that is, rather than add a lot of extra sound as if to drown out our thoughts, we first rest in silence and then let the thoughts just become as light as a feather or as vaporous as a cloud as they just, right, dissolve back into that silence and that stillness. It's a different side, we might say, or a different angle, maybe, of the work. And so we're going to try for that one. I think I'm in no way wanting to suggest, however, that all access to both sounds and silence is not spectacular, because I know and feel and sense and have experienced that it is. I just want to make sure that you know, even when you can't be connected to bigger sounds like gongs and bells and music, and that there really is always this ever-pervading sound that's always right there, and that it's the most vibrant, the most embracing, the most unconditional, never dying, never ending, and including all other sound ever. From the symphony to the caw of the crow to the hearing of your own harsh thoughts. And because of that, both those couple things, so let me repeat what I just said for a second. The harsh thoughts and our own harsh voices, can we hear them and recognize their harshness without judgment, without blame, without recrimination, without condemning? Is that possible? Yes. Can we also rest in the vast, open, always available space of silence as the loudest, most embracing, most pervading sound, so that even when we can't get a bigger sound, uh, we are in refuge, we are in protection, we are already comforted by the refuge of silence itself. So let's see what is possible here. Because of those few things, can we hold our own harsh thoughts? Because can we hear the bluster of the day, the bluster of the evening wind, the bluster of this stormy evening, if you're living here in San Diego, and not be carried away or caught up in the bluster? And because of those few ideas, a particular poem came to mind for me. It's not a poem just about sounds at all, but I thought it was one that might be particularly apt. And so I'm going to read it here for you. And as you get ready and prepare to sit, I'm going to check just to make sure that we don't have anybody who has any particular needs. It looks like we're okay. I've got everybody, it looks like, on with sound, I hope. And so let's get ourselves settled. I'm going to take an extra sip here while you're settling. I may choose or not, we're going to see, to ring the bell a few extra times throughout the practice. I do that not to introduce other sound, because remember, the sound of silence always available. I do it for you to make contact with the naturally expanding reality of all sound. And what it is expanding into is actually silence. And so when I follow the bell, for example, as I'm going to suggest that you do, the truth is it's going to take us right from this inner talk and chatter and harsh voice of our own, right back into that wide open space where all pervading, all abiding stillness and silence resides. Let's see if we can make contact with that. Okay, this is called The Journey by Mary Oliver. And see if you don't pick up some of the phrasing that I was coming to naturally that made me think of this particular poem. The Journey. One day you finally knew what you had to do and began, though the voices around you kept shouting their bad advice, though the whole house began to tremble and you felt the old tug at your ankles. Mend my life, each voice cried, but you didn't stop. You knew what you had to do, though the wind pried with its stiff fingers at the very foundations, though their melancholy was terrible. It was already late enough, and a wild night, and the road full of fallen branches and stones. But little by little, as you left their voices behind, the stars began to burn through the sheets of clouds, and there was a new voice which you slowly recognized as your own, that kept you company as you strode deeper and deeper into the world, determined to do the only thing you could do, determined to save the only life you could save. All right. And so let's prepare to sit. Thank you for those who turned off video. If you're going to be relaxing, I love that. I want you to be relaxed without feeling like you're on screen. And I love being on screen because it helps me practice with you. So here we are, sitting or lying, letting the body settle with each out breath. We're not looking for sounds. We're just making contact with the body and whatever points of contact you can touch, the feet, the seat, the hands, and the lap. Breathing into those contact points and settling. You are sitting in the midst of the greatest silence ever heard. It doesn't matter the voice, the clank, the tick, the wind. This silence is not perturbed by any sound. You are protected and held in refuge by this silence. It is not only outer, but inner and through. Place the mind with the sound of the bell as best you can there. And may this practice be of benefit to you, to me, and others. And let the attention expand outward with the strike of the bell. Not holding it, not grasping or clinging. Let it ring out and move out into that still, open, silent, vast space. Feel the way the breath expands into that vast silence. Its own whispered sound, barely heard, completely present. And with each out breath, we simply rest in that silence. Breathing into it with the in-breath. Embracing the silence from all directions. Front and back. Left and right. Above and below. Moving right through you. That silence that is all around is also completely within. It is as vast, as empty, as open is all that is around you. We breathe in, opening and expanding to include the silence around us. With the out-breath, we make contact with that vast, silent, open space within. We touch it on the in-breath and on the out-breath. To hear this silence requires more than the ears, more than hearing. It requires the undistracted, unshakable, unmoving mind. The silence is before sound. The silence is during sound. The silence is after sound, holding it from all directions. Resting the mind in that vast, open, silent space, inside and out. Breathing into it and breathing it in. And as we stabilize this unmoving mind in silence, we can then open to include discrete sounds. We can open to hearing. without being carried away, stabilized, anchored, connected first to silence. The mind rests in the stillness of silence. Completely at ease. The sound of a voice appearing and disappearing. The sound of wind, of movement. Distressing sounds and pleasant sounds. Wrapped in silence. See if you can let sounds arise and fade. All sounds born from silence. Permeated by silence. Returning to silence. This silence, the quality of your own awakened mind. Open, spacious, imperturbable. It is only the narrating mind, the mind that clings, the mind that rejects, the mind that wants, and the mind that doesn't want that gets caught. Treat each sound kindly. Without preference, without bias or reactivity. Silence by its nature is non-preferential, non-reactive, unbiased. Open, spacious, receptive to all sounds. You can begin to feel the way the sound, and more importantly, the way that silence begins to permeate the body, the being. Offering silence to everything. Breathing into the silence and breathing out from it. We begin to see that it is always available. And we open and awaken the mind to it. We can then move beyond sound itself, the sounds that are heard by the ear, resting in the open arms of silence. We can then include the sounds of the voices, the thoughts, the opinions, the bias, and remain unmoved. Those harsh voices that call, mend my life. Those thoughts, those sounds that hook you, that capture you, that make you believe that you are already not enough. We simply let them come and be and go, just like sounds. Back into the silence, back into the stillness. Back into that open and vast heart mind that can hold everything, including those harsh voices. Can we let even those inner sounds of thoughts simply be sound in that vast, imperturbable, unshakable silence? Thoughts about silence, thoughts about sounds, held in that vast, open silence. Nothing to grab, nothing to run from. We can rest in the silence, inner, outer, and both. No matter what sound appears. We don't look for sound and we don't reject it. The silence pervades all sound. With each breath, we settle into silence. We remember we are born from silence and we die back into silence. It is a true home. And as the wind flaps the trees and moves objects, the mind is unmoved. Sounds appearing and disappearing in the vast open silence all around. Sounds we like and sounds we don't. Silence has no preference. Thoughts we like, thoughts we don't. Thoughts we believe and thoughts we reject. Silence has no preference. May we remember the silence as a quality of our own true nature, abiding all sounds, all thoughts. Invite the mind home to silence each day. So that you can remember the quality of your own nature. May we all be happy. Letting those wishes of goodwill move out in all directions right through that silence. May we all be free from distress and the causes for distress. May we sense, feel, hear the sounds of silence everywhere. And choose this first as our true home. May we then choose silence as the path to truly being present to ourselves and others. Before all sounds, before all words. Speak from silence and return to it before speaking again. This is the path to the end of suffering. And may this practice today contribute. I saw Leslie come in. Welcome, Leslie. I'm glad I opened my eyes for a minute there to see you joining. I hope you're still there. Any questions, or do we get this idea then about the real nature of sound healing? Because it invites us, doesn't it, by the strike of the bell, the gong, the instrument, it invites us to open uh, really and to follow, doesn't it, out into that vast space of silence in which all sounds is required so that all sounds can be heard and held and resonate. And when we're busy and distracted and caught up, even in other sounds like the sounds of our own thoughts, we truly can't allow the experience of sound. And something interesting just happened. I'll give you an example during the meditation. It's a very windy day here in San Diego, and it's going to be stormy, I think, maybe even two. So there's a lot of wind, and something just fell off of the deck as we were meditating. And normally, that sound, just the sound of something falling over, would, to the normal distracted mind, go spinning off into thoughts about what is it? What if it's one of my new lanterns? What if it's this thing I want to keep, or what is this thing I don't want to fall over or get ruined, or whatever story. And it was able to just be sound. Kalunk, and then rolling. It didn't even occur to me to have a thought about it. That's the beauty of silence. It doesn't mean I won't attend to it now, but it means it was not disruptive. It did not perturb the mind. And the mind that rests in silence really becomes fairly imperturbable, even when you might choose then an action. I'm going to go see what it was, just to make sure that no greater harm comes, if it's glass or whatever needs to happen. Right, and this is the potential of our everyday lives, really. Blustery days, quiet days. Blustery thoughts, quiet thoughts. And blustery sounds, quiet sounds. The silence certainly is spacious enough, is still enough, is open, receptive enough to hold them all. And so I hope that this has been of benefit to you on this blustery evening here in San Diego, and whatever evening you're having, wherever you are. If you haven't signed up yet for our Day of Mindfulness, we're having two this week. Friday from 9 to 4:30, Saturday from 9 to 4:30 as well. You will need to go to encinitasmindfulness.org/retreat, I think dash registration, something like that, to sign up. And there is a fee for this because we pay Quest Haven for our day. And I will be in residence there from Thursday through Saturday, and really look forward to anyone who might be able to join us. There's a few spaces left, and we will not be doing Zoom because it's too difficult to get a reception there. It's part of the beauty of the place. Imbued, completely filled to the brim and beyond with silence. You're so welcome, everyone. Blessings to each of you. Yes, this is I agree, useful practice, because we forget that thoughts are simply sound, old habits of reactivity, and we get carried away when simply we can create that open silent space and let them blow the wind they blow and go. All right, everyone. Much love to you. I'm looking forward to seeing you too. Thank you all so much. This will get put up by Leslie. Thank you always, Leslie, on our Zoom meditations tab at encinitasmindfulness.org. If it was useful to you, it is to me. These are the kind of meditations I often go to sleep to because I rest in silence, whether I'm awake or I'm asleep, and then notice that I'm rested either way. So everyone, be well. Mwah, to you. Love to you. I'll look forward to seeing many of you on Saturday. I'll look forward to that. Yes, you're so welcome, Leslie. We'll see you all. I won't be here Saturday, of course. Greg will be leading, but I will be here tomorrow morning. Greg will be here Thursday and Saturday. And then I'll see you next Monday, if not sooner. All right, everyone, be well. Take good care.